I'll call the executive by board to order for Thursday, February 15th, 2024. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, public bodies otherwise governed by the open meeting law are temporarily relieved from the requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by joining Zoom meeting ID number 854-0032-4335 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at ATM@Ayer.MA.US or 978-772-8220, extension 100 prior to the meeting. All right. First item for today we have is the approval of the meeting minutes from January 18th. I had no issues.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll take Barbara's second through lip reading.
Sorry, I have background noise. Sorry.
No worries. Roll call the vote. Ms. Antonellis.
Aye.
Ms. Tierney.
Aye.
Mr. Friskowski.
Aye.
Mr. Seeley.
Aye.
And Ms. Pomperant.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Minutes are approved. Up next, we do have a update of the fiscal year 2025 budget.
Mr. Chair.
Hand it over to you, Robert.
Mr. Chair, members of the BI board, good afternoon. So on the FY25 budget update, everything is running per schedule, which is good. This is always the crunch time between now leading right up to town meeting. So just a couple of highlights. We will be sending draft 2 of the omnibus budget to the finance committee and the select board tomorrow. It will also be in the select board meeting packet for the public. And under my report on Tuesday, February 20th, we'll have a brief update on draft 2, just highlighting what has changed from draft 1. So you'll be getting that shortly. I just want, and when we're just in the process of finalizing a few things for draft 2, but I just through the chair, just want to point out a couple of highlights on that. So as it stands right now, we have draft 2 down to $942,036 increase, so a 5.26% increase. So it's come down some since draft 1. Of course, there's still some pieces to be resolved. When you factor in the school assessments, the increase goes up to just over 2 million or 6.18% increase. And as many know, the Neshoba Valley Tech is coming to the FinCom this evening at 6. We know that the assessment from Neshoba Tech is actually going down 62,000 from last year. That's the good news. The Ayer Shirley Regional School assessment, as everyone on here knows, because I think everyone was at the meeting, the Ayer portion of that assessment is coming in over 1.1 million, which is higher than we would like. I think that's been conveyed to the superintendent. The superintendent also indicated publicly at the meeting, as he did in Shirley, that there's some more work to do on their part for this number to come down. My colleague in Shirley, the town administrator, and I have both have placed calls in stressing the sooner we can get these potential revised numbers, the better. As people heard at the meeting, the superintendent indicated at least $300,000 overall reduction to the total, but we have to run that through the regional formula. He's indicated potentially a higher amount of a reduction, and they have till March 6th, I think, for the certified budget. So that's where it stands now is higher than we would like. As Barbara runs the budget tie-in on that, we would like to see that come down some. Preparing for the worst case scenario, which would be what they submitted on February 6th, we'd have to reduce about another 200,000 on the omnibus budget roughly to get into a more palatable zone as far as sustainability. So that school piece is a big piece of it on our end. Couple things you'll see on draft 2 just briefly, and I'd be happy to talk more with the group and the FinCom. So the reserve fund, we did restore it in draft 2 back to the historic norm of 150,000. Draft 1 had it at 175,000, and you recall it was even higher during the times of COVID. Looking at the history with the reserve fund, and as much as we can predict the future within reason, we're confident on our end that the 150 would be a viable number for FY 25. So that's one proposed reduction. On the health insurance front, in draft 1, there was a 15% placeholder. Pieces are beginning to fall into place on that front. And we're looking that comfortably at somewhere between probably an 8%, maybe 10%. It's one of the things we're trying to polish up for tomorrow, but could be an 8% increase on the health insurance front, which is a positive. It gives us some more room. The general insurance lines, which always come in, it's the nature of the insurance industry, not the town, come in later, usually by March. We're seeing some indications that perhaps some of the 10% placeholders will come down. So that's a positive thing. You'll see there's been some reductions, adjustments in the library, senior center, assessing departments overall. And when you get draft 2, it'll all be highlighted. Draft 2 still doesn't include the cost of living adjustment for non-union personnel. On February 20th, we'll be making that recommendation to the select board. I will say this, the recommendation is going to be for a 2% cost of living adjustment. The metrics show it would be a little bit on the higher side because of inflation and so forth, but the 2% is consistent with a lot of our other contracts and so forth. So we will have that number on Tuesday. The police contract has concluded as in an MOA, which the board will be reviewing on Tuesday in executive sessions. So that's another piece that we'll have on Tuesday. The dispatcher contract is still in negotiation, but should be concluding shortly. So we continue on our end to review all of the budgets. I asked Barbara and Kerry a couple days ago if we could go through all of the lines, looking at the 3-year history to see if there's any other opportunities there in consultation with the department heads. So everybody will have draft 2 on as of tomorrow afternoon. We'll be talking about the changes on the 20th. We'll also be recommending the COLA to the select board on Tuesday consistent with the financial policies. And 2 other pieces on Tuesday in the packet. We'll have a brief update on the FY25 capital plan. The capital planning committee completed its work. In the packet, we'll have the spreadsheet that the chair had put together, Scott, showing the items. And just the main purpose of that update on the 20th is to just get it on the public's radar screen. Everything is on the web page, but we generally at this meeting each year talk a little bit about the capital. And then lastly, just for people's radar screen on the budget process, on Tuesday, March 19th, as part of the select board meeting, is going to be the FY25 water and sewer rate public hearing as the select board of the Water and Sewer Commissioners. And the rate review committee will make a presentation at that meeting. And as some of you know who are involved, the recommendation for FY25 will be a 2% increase on water and a 5% increase on sewer, which is the same recommendation as last year, and is consistent with the updated rate model. So with that, Mr. Chair, that's sort of a snapshot of where we are in the budget process. And also, we will be looking to set up the second public forum for March, and we'll talk more about that as it gets closer on the budget.
Thank you, Robert. Just one thing to note on the school assessment. So the schools mentioned trying to bring that number down 300,000. If that's the number, the impact to Ayer is only about 174,000. So it still falls short of where it needs to be for us.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any sense of how Shirley's budget is coming together?
So, good point. So question. So Shirley's budget, I understand, is coming together. Their FinCom is meeting with everybody, I think, including the schools, on a Saturday coming up very soon. The total of that 300,000 scenario does not obviously work for Shirley. We've heard some informal, unofficial comments that the reduction would be more like a 450,000. But the school piece is the tough piece for the Shirley budget as well.
All right, thank you, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on the budget? No? Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is the 2024 annual town meeting warrant update.
Sure.
Robert, I assume we're going back to you.
Yes. So as we do every year now, we're beginning to shift the focus to the development of the town meeting warrant. So in the select board packet tomorrow afternoon, there'll be a memo, which I can send separately to the FinCom as well, that will at least summarize all of the potential warrant articles and topics and any information related to that. Just to remind everyone, the warrant technically closes on March 29th. And then we're looking for the select board to approve that at their meeting, their first Tuesday in April. In the interest of time, I'll just quickly highlight just some of the financial warrant articles that would be of interest to this group. I mean, obviously, the omnibus budget will be the big one. Both school assessments will be there. And this year, each superintendent, excuse me, will be making a brief presentation on the budget for the moderator. There's going to be an article for the acquisition of 71 Sandy Pond Road. That's the land across from the Sandy Pond Beach. There's information both in the February 6th Select Board packet online and on the CPC page. There's an opportunity for the town to purchase the 2.8 acre site for $700,000, which would include the demolition and removal of all structures and it leveled to grade. The proposal per the select board at this point is for $350,000 of the $700,000 to come from CPC funds for open space and recreation. And I presented the pre-application to the CPC last week, and they're scheduled for a public hearing and approval on March 6th. The balance, which the board will further discuss, of $350,000 could potentially come from the UDAG fund, subject to reappropriation of future town meeting. It could come from ARPA or a portion of it or a combination of. So we need to discuss the town piece of the funding on it. Again, if town meeting approves it, the town would own it within 60 days of town meeting. If town meeting doesn't approve it, the owner of the property will proceed with residential development of the site. The feeling is that this is of key importance, an opportunity for the town to get some further open space recreation opportunity. So that will have a funding factor at town meeting. There will also be an article for the town to create a fund for the opioid funds. If many of you are familiar, the town of Ayer is involved in multiple class action lawsuits as part of a national consortium. Some of these have begun to settle, and we receive funds that have to be used for specific opioid purposes. We've been advised as a best practice too from the Department of Revenue to establish opioid fund, which requires an active town meeting for these funds. The town has not spent any of this money to date. We need to develop a plan for that, but again, another funding related article. There'll be two articles, as there always are for capital. There'll be the borrow article that will have all of the borrowing for capital projects. There are no debt exclusions or capital exclusions this year. And then that second article is to purchase straight out some of the smaller items from capital stabilization. We're looking to have the OPEB article again for the OPEB funding. We're reviewing the compensated absences article, which we may not need to add funding to that at this time, but we'll keep you updated. Also, the issue of forward funding the pension. By forward funding the pension, that has shown a lot of savings to the town. And hopefully we can continue to do that using a portion of free cash. There will be the standard enterprise articles. Under CPC, there will be a funding article for the 71 Sandy Pond Road, as I just mentioned. Also, Habitat for Humanity is looking for, I think, $150,000 from housing to build a Habitat house. And there'll be another article, the funding that CPC previously authorized for the old fire station project. The old fire station project never came to fruition as intended with the CPC funds. So town meeting needs to return those funds to the appropriate CPC category. Interestingly, we just learned yesterday that the owner of that old fire station has listed it on Zillow for sale for $850,000, I think.
Yeah.
On that front.
Kurt, you have a question?
Yeah, how much was the set aside for that project?
It was, get it right here. It was $150,000 from the housing category and $40,000 from historic. So it's $190,000.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that did not come to fruition. So the CPC wants to revert those funds back to their categories, and that requires an active town meeting. Other than that, as far as like raise and appropriate articles, there doesn't look to be much on that front. There'll probably be one article for the first year borrowing costs of anything we borrow for capital. That's sort of standard. Secondly, I'm going to be talking with the conservation agent and conservation commission. The aquatic weed article, Barbara and I believe that there may not be a need for that this year because they have a considerable balance, but we'll keep you updated. And the firefighters, they are looking for a matching, they are applying for another matching grant. That many of you have seen this each year. We have to put up like a 5% match. If they get the grant, that's generally been a raise and appropriate article. If they don't get the grant, it doesn't impact anything. So that's sort of just a snapshot as the financial articles that we know of. And this will be all spelled out in the memo as of right now. There will be some other articles you'll see in the memo that are not financial related. So that's sort of the update, Mr. Chair, on the town meeting warrant as of February 15th.
Thank you, Robert. Any questions on warrant articles? No. Okay. All right, moving along, update on the ClearGov budget platform.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Carly.
Carrie and I met yesterday briefly on this. Our plan is to still roll it out for March 1st, the first week of March, somewhere in there. And we're gonna meet again next week. She had a family like a family issue, so she's not in today or tomorrow. So we're gonna meet early next week and get everything ready to roll it out. And that will be the current year's budget, so FY 24, and then we'll be able to load in 25, so you can see the differences between the 2 years.
All right, excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Scott, just to add to
Thanks, Robert.
Carly's, so the plan is the beginning of March, and then what we'd like to do is do a brief demo, an overall demo for the buy board. Be happy to do it for the FinCom and Select Board as well. But also when we do the budget forum in March, of course, we want to talk about the budget and so forth, but we'd like to use the ClearGov as the foundation for that public presentation, so that it would also include a little bit of information for the public to begin to use ClearGov as well. And then if all goes as planned, this will hopefully facilitate the budget book for this year as well. So we're almost there. And then when we're there, I think it'll be much smoother sailing moving forward. And we appreciate everybody's patience as this was unveiled right before the pandemic. And there have been a lot of delays that were beyond the town's control at the time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Robert. So that's all of our major agenda items before we schedule our next meeting. Open up to any questions or comments from anyone. We are a very lively bunch today. Thank you. So scheduling of the next meeting, I know we were supposed to meet last week, which is the first Wednesday of the month, or sorry, first Thursday of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So Robert, the second budget forum, I apologize. What's the date on that again?
So we were looking to probably the Wednesday. I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up. Probably Wednesday, March 20th. It's usually the third Wednesday in March.
Okay. Do we want to do Thursday the 14th? Does that work for everyone?
That's
That
great,
works for
Scott.
me.
That works for me.
Make sure it works for me.
So Robert, just real quick, for the 20th, the ZBA will have a meeting that night. So I don't know, I'm not sure Cindy's on the line. We can do 2 Zooms at the same time.
I'm here. What's the other meeting? I missed it. I'm sorry.
ZBA on the 20th of March.
Um,
And I know they've probably already started getting applications, so I just wanted to bring it up now.
yeah, we can. They've been meeting hybrid though, correct?
Right.
So they would have to meet by Zoom if being used.
Okay.
Do we definitively know they're having a meeting?
I'm pretty sure, but I'll check with Sam. Hold on.
I mean, we're just going to have to
Yeah.
move them. I mean, we're going to have to do the budget forum.
Okay.
Meaning if we can do it at the same time, but I think we need to do if we're going to do a second thing.
Okay.
I mean, there is what's on the 27th, but what's the 27th of March?
That's that Affordable Housing Trust Zoom, but they could move their meeting more easily than the ZBA because there's no public notices or newspaper notices.
Okay.
Real quick, just so that we're looking at the 21st, then March?
27.
March 20th.
Oh, 27, okay.
27th.
27th is for the budget forum.
Right.
We're looking at the 14th for the next buy board.
Okay, yeah, and Cindy, I have to get you finance committee agendas for the 7th and 21st of March.
Okay,
So why don't we do this? The buy board's gonna meet on Thursday, March 14th at 2 PM on Zoom. Why don't we plan to do the budget forum, given the ZBA meeting, on Wednesday, March 27th at 6 PM? How does that look?
Sounds good.
Okay, and then when we meet on the 14th, we can talk about all the plan for the 27th. Okay,
Okay,
Sounds good. All right, all right, so that's all of our agenda for this afternoon. One final time, questions, comments? No, all right, then take a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
second,
Okay.
All right, roll call the vote, Mr. Seeley,
Aye.
Ms. Antonellis,
Aye.
Mr. Freskowski,
Aye.
Ms. Tierney,
aye.
and Mr. Pomperman.
aye.
All right, and Chair says aye, we are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.